I go to school in a big city, one of the least safe cities in the US. I chose this school for nursing, definitely not for the location. I live in a row house, that's what we call it, off campus with 4 other girls. Cheaper and nicer than dorms, or so we thought. I guess you get what you pay for. We're all girls and sophomores in college. As you'd guess, we go out, drink, and come back doing things we don't remember. We had just started our rent in August. 3 floors plus a basement that was padlocked by the owners. Understandable. We would have definitely had parties down there to avoid cleaning up right away. The house was great. Amazing location for school and work. I'm a CNA who works odd hours. It wasn't expensive and was in good condition. I had never lived with that many people before, just one roommate previously, so we definitely knew if one of us had moved or changed something. I started to notice my snacks were either half gone or completely gone. I was getting annoyed, but in a house with that many people, it's too much work to figure out who ate what, so I ignored it. Slowly, as girls do, we started making passive-aggressive comments about someone eating our food. You know, classic college girl stuff. We all let it go. Who wants to start a whole house fight? I work until about 11 p.m. in the NICU and get home around 11:30, mostly on weeknights. I started noticing pans left out or snack wrappers around. I thought it was odd since none of my roommates had done that before, but I figured they probably drank a bottle of wine, then went to bed and forgot to clean up. Again, my roommates started making comments. This time, we actually started to ask because it was getting annoying. All our food was disappearing and stuff was being left out. I knew it had to be one of them, but who wants to admit they ate someone else's snacks in college? Snacks are basically gold. We chalked it up to the girl who always smokes and eats her weight in food. She swore it wasn't her. This went on for about 2 months. It became more obvious someone was definitely taking everyone's food. Definitely the girl that always smokes. I've seen her eat her whole snack pantry in a night. I wished it was her. One night at work, I was about to leave, but a situation came up and I didn't get out until 12:30. I took the bus home. I got home and was ready to collapse. I just wanted to get to bed ASAP. I walked in the front door. The stairs are directly in front of you, and you can also see down the side into the kitchen. I walked in and saw someone in the kitchen, but I was too tired to say hi, thinking it could lead to a 30-minute conversation about nothing. So I just went straight upstairs. When I got to the second floor, I noticed all my roommates' doors were closed, which always meant they were either in their rooms for the night or asleep. I got a weird feeling. Just something clicked. They were all asleep, right? I texted our house group chat asking if anyone was in the kitchen. I felt stupid even asking. 2 responded no, and they said the other 2 had already gone to sleep. I knew it wasn't any of my roommates down there at that moment. I dialed 911 but didn't press call yet. I crept into my roommate's room across the hall. Thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, she didn't have her door locked. I whispered to her that I thought someone was in the house. She gave me the widest eyes I've ever seen. Almost looked like she was going to cry. She hadn't suspected anything like I had. But for context, it's a really bad area. There had been a shooting in the house 2 doors down just weeks earlier by an intruder. She mouthed to me, "Make the call." The whole time we were dead silent. We didn't hear anything at all. I started thinking maybe I was just overtired and seeing things after such a long day at work. I regretted dialing, thinking I was going to look like an idiot when they showed up, and it was nothing. We explained what was going on, and they said they'd send someone ASAP. The police showed up, and I didn't even want to go downstairs, but the operator confirmed it was them, so I did. The whole time I swear she could hear my heart beating. The police came in and looked around. I thought, oh God, I look so dumb. They asked if there were any other floors. We told them technically the basement, but it was padlocked, so really no. They checked the basement just in case, and well, yeah, they were right. A man had been living in the padlocked basement. The lock was pulled off the hinges and just kind of propped against the wall. We'd never noticed because we rarely went out back. The guy had taken a comforter from one of my roommates out of the hall closet, had a mattress from God knows where in his clothes. Well, he was the one moving and eating all our stuff. He would come out in the middle of the night and do it. He was getting more comfortable. I don't know if he was drugged out and forgot to clean his tracks or if he just didn't care anymore. Me and my roommates had pretty consistent schedules during the week. which probably let him think any time after about midnight was safe to come out. We never slept with our individual doors locked, and that's what freaks me out the most. He had access to any one of us at any moment, and we had no idea. When he was getting arrested, I was the only one who went down to look. I don't know why I did. I wish I hadn't. I took a picture while he was being arrested to show my roommates, who were too afraid to come down. This is him. The clothes he was wearing, unexplainable, and those nice button-down shirts. They were from two of my roommates' boyfriends, shirts they had complained about losing. The basement also had random storage from the owners, like a pull-up bar and other big stuff. Not everyone has to believe it, but I do. It happened to me, and it was very scary. 3 years ago, I was living with my then-boyfriend in a one-bedroom apartment in a little mountain town. It was a half-basement unit, so the bottom of all our windows were level with the ground outside. It was also an older apartment, and not all the windows could fully lock. One day, my boyfriend comes home from work while I'm laying on the sofa and immediately runs up to the window near me and looks out of it frantically. He then goes to look out every other window in the house, then walks around the outside looking in the windows. When he comes back from this confusing exploit, I ask him what the F is going on and why he's being a spaz. I think I just walked up on a dude looking in the window at you. He took off as I walked up, he tells me. This was naturally very unsettling, but after discussing it and considering the time of day, it was about 2 p.m., and the number of people out and about around the complex at that time, we came to the conclusion that it was just a curious neighbor or someone passing by who happened to glance in. With that, we forgot about it. If only that was the end. For the next couple of months, odd stuff happened here and there. Someone would knock on the door occasionally, then when I went to answer, no one was there. I'd find things in my apartment that I wasn't familiar with, or things like clothing items would vanish. I didn't really think twice about any of it until one night. My boyfriend and I were arguing around 1 or 2 in the morning, and we were being a little loud. We were standing in the kitchen face to face. His back was to an open window with the blinds up halfway, and I was facing it. Amidst our arguing, I glanced behind him at the window, thinking I saw the reflection of my face in it. The window was open. It wasn't my face. There was a man with his face pressed almost against the window screen watching us. Given the fact that we were arguing and it was late, I thought for a moment it might have been a concerned neighbor walking up to the window to speak to us. The main walkway for the complex was right on the other side of the window, so I spoke to him. "Hello? Can I help you?" I asked a little aggressively, thinking a neighbor was intruding on our privacy. He responded to this by staring, unwavering and cold, right at me. His face did not change expression. He did not blink or move. Just looked right at me in a way I have never been looked at before or since. In that instant, I also realized that because of the window being level with the ground, the only way this man's face could be where it was if he was laying on the ground outside the apartment, or crouched and contorted to look into the window. My heart sank. I buried my face in my boyfriend's chest and closed my eyes in fear. My boyfriend up to this point thought I was messing with him. When I buried my face in his chest, only then did he say, "Is there really someone at the window?" I whispered yes to him. He felt my fear and took a moment before he turned around. By the time he did, the man was gone. It was at this point I started to think about all the little odd occurrences I'd been experiencing. I assumed the worst. I filed a police report with his description, and my brother loaded my apartment up with weapons to protect me, or at least inform this peeping Tom that I was armed. After that night, myself, my boyfriend, and my brother were on high alert. There were a couple of times when my brother came over that he saw a sketchy dude hanging around, and even one time he saw him at my window. He tried to follow him discreetly, but the guy took off running as soon as my brother stepped in his direction. The last night I had an experience with this man, I was sitting home alone on my sofa. My boyfriend was at work at a restaurant about 2 blocks away. He had picked me up from work an hour earlier. We had sat on the sofa together a little while when we got home. Then he kissed me and left for work, locking the door behind him. After he left, I continued to sit on the couch on Reddit for a while in silence. After about an hour of me sitting there in silence, I hear a door creak open. It's a small apartment, so to see the bedroom and bathroom doors from the couch, all I had to do was lean a little to the left. I assumed it was one of my cats coming out of my bedroom. So you can imagine my shock when I lean over and see the door that's opening is the door to the small storage space. I look to my right and see both my cats sleeping soundly at the other end of the couch. I look back to the door and it's still creaking open very slowly. It opens enough for me to see it. A set of fingers wrapped around the door, easing the door ever so gently to open it as quietly as possible. That was gonna be a no from me, dog. I ran my ass barefoot out the door into the snow and down the street to my boyfriend's work. I called the cops. When everyone was back to check out the apartment, he was, of course, gone. After that, my boyfriend and I packed our shit, went to stay with my parents, and 6 months later moved 1,000 miles away from that town. I thought that was the end of it. I live 1,000 miles away from where all of this happened. So a part of me thinks there's no way this person could have found me. But last week I heard a knock on the front door of my apartment. I was expecting a package, so I figured it was a delivery driver and didn't answer. I'd go get the package later. Then they knocked again. And again. The third one made me feel uneasy, so I waited a good 20 minutes to check the door. When I did, there was no package, no note, no nothing. Someone was just knocking. Although it made me uneasy, I didn't initially think back to my stressful experience in my last town. Then 2 days ago, I went out to get groceries. I have a little patio and I go out there in the mornings to just chill or check on plants a lot. And I've been known to leave it unlocked in the day on accident. Never thought of it as a huge deal until I came home from the store 2 days ago and the deadbolt to my apartment was locked. The deadbolt that can only be locked from the inside of the apartment. I assumed someone robbed me because I dumbly left my patio unlocked. I called my sister and called my current new boyfriend. I waited for people to be with me and I went into my apartment through the sliding glass patio door. Nothing was out of place. Nothing of value was taken. At this point, my heart sank. Nothing was touched. Nothing stolen. Someone was inside my apartment just because they wanted to be inside of my apartment. I told my boyfriend about my stalker, and he is not taking this shit lightly like my past boyfriend. I filed a police report. We checked for recording devices and cameras. He put Nest cameras up all over the place and we're on high alert. I really truly hope this is a coincidence. But if this man really followed me across multiple state lines, we used to live next to a lovely old lady, whom I would occasionally visit with my mother. I'd sing or play sax for her. She had 2 children, and I must assume that unfortunately she was widowed. I don't mean to be rude or judgmental at all, but I should add that both her son and daughter are overweight. Also, I often heard screaming arguments, mainly coming from the daughter during my childhood until she was hospitalized, for what I assume was something related to her weight. She came back maybe half a year later, and thankfully, the screaming died down dramatically. I tell you this to give you an idea that the offspring were a little off their nuts. Her children, well, I'm not great at guessing ages, but they're probably in their 40s now. And unfortunately, the old lady is no longer able to stay in the house. She's been moved into a nursing home. Her house is now being occupied by her children. It started off with just the son visiting occasionally to keep the place in order, I guess. All was fine until about this time 3 years ago. The son began visiting the house more frequently, and one afternoon he came over to our house while my sister was out. I don't remember who answered the door, but I think he told my mom or dad that he wanted to talk to their daughters. They brought him down to where I was in the living room. At this point, my father, mother, the neighbor, and I were all present. He started having a go at my sister and accusing us of watching him beating the bishop. Not a direct quote. He actually used extremely inappropriate language, especially considering that at the time, I was only a young teenager. He also accused me of not being innocent. Not that it mattered, but he basically called my sister and me sluts in front of my parents. They made him leave and made it clear they thought it was all nonsense. My dad said, "How dare you come into my home and accuse my daughter of this and dirty her ears with this foul language?" He left, and there was a lot of tension for a very long time. I guess I should assure you now it was all nonsense. I can only speak for myself in saying I was, and still am, extremely innocent. Moving on, when I walked past his house to get to mine, I always felt like I was being watched, which I probably was. After a while, he started trying to talk to me and act like nothing was wrong, trying to gain my friendship. It made me very tense and awkward any time I walked past, or down the side of the house where he had a full view. I didn't want to talk to him or even acknowledge his existence, but at the same time, I didn't want to come off as unforgiving. This wasn't even the worst of it. Now, some people may think this is strange, but I sleep naked. Okay, there it is. So one night I opened my bedroom door to go to the bathroom or something. But as I took one step out, I saw the sun looking at me through the parallel bathroom window. I immediately turned around feeling embarrassed, but I didn't think too much of it. I just sort of thought he must have looked accidentally at the wrong time and caught me by mistake. But it got worse. Maybe a week or so later, after I had forgotten about the incident, I hopped out of the shower and was standing on the bath mat drying my hair, because you have to dry your hair before your body or it drips. Anyway, luckily not too long after, I glanced out of the tiny inch of the window that was left open to help the mirror defog, and I saw him staring at me. Our eyes made contact for what felt like the longest, most disgusting second of my life. I jumped back so the fogged glass blocked me from view, crawled awkwardly across the floor to the door, and ran to my room. I felt incredibly disgusting. It may seem a bit silly, but it really hurt me to know the first person to see me nude was now a creep. I'm a little self-conscious about my body, and I thought that moment, being seen, would be something I could save for someone I loved. That idea was now out the window. This made it even more awkward walking past his house. I have to go that way every time I catch the bus, which is most days. His house is the second in from the corner. Ours is third. And sometimes if I see him when I get to the corner, my instincts make me freeze, as if I've just spotted a predator. I have to will myself to keep going, avoid eye contact, and hope he doesn't try to talk to me. Sometimes I get lucky and his car's not there, so I know he isn't home. A month ago, he passed a gift to me through my dad. It was a little glass saxophone. This makes me even more annoyed at myself that I can't forgive him. But don't I have the right to blank a creep like that? He stays out there all night with his radio lurking. I just wish he would sell that house already, or go live in his actual house and stop spending all his time making my life hell.